Since today is both of my girls' first day back at their co-school today, I decided that I would do a year 2 homeschooling, or I guess year 1 in review video about how our homeschooling year has gone the first year. Lessons learned, what did we abandon, what did we love, what are we keeping in year 2? And maybe this can help you out if you are considering homeschooling or you're a new homeschooling parent and you're trying to navigate all of the things that come with homeschooling your children. So I feel like this is like baptism by fire, and you really get everything thrown at you in the first year, because if you've never homeschooled before, it's like nothing you've ever done, especially if you're not a teacher by trade, you haven't educated your children or anybody else's children in the past. It can be a lot in that first year. And there are so many different styles of homeschooling. If you haven't checked out the other videos on my channel, I will put the playlist here to all my other homeschooling videos, but you really want to decide on the style that's going to work for you and your children, your family, the way that you want to run your own personal homeschool. And everyone out there has an opinion on the best curriculum and what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And so I'm just here to provide you with my experience and maybe, hopefully, offer you a little bit of grace if you're trying to switch curriculums or you feel like you don't know what you're doing, because I didn't know what I was doing either last year. And I probably still don't know 100%. I'm sure it'll change over time, but I'll let you know what's been working for us. So first and foremost, the thing that I realized very early on in the school year last year is that we were trying to do way too much. So I was very worried that we would have all this time at home and my children would be bored and I wouldn't be able to get anything done because they would just be like, mom, 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 mom. And so I signed them up for forest school. I signed them up for STEM clubs. I had them in a co-school 1 day a week. I had them in a co-op that I was also co-teaching at 1 day a week. We had field trip Fridays every Friday. We were working with like a family group pod to do some extra lessons. And what I noticed is we were so busy that we couldn't actually get the curriculum done that I wanted us to accomplish throughout the year. Plus, I had decided that in addition to our co-school curriculum, I was going to teach math, language arts, and science at home. And so that was just a lot. And we were finding that we were falling, behind is kind of a misnomer, but we weren't keeping up with where we should be pacing throughout the year with our math and our language arts curriculum. We weren't getting through as many science units as I had thought in my mind we were going to get through. And I really didn't want the kids to feel stressed out about homeschooling, because that wasn't the point of why we were doing it in the first place. I wanted education to be this wonderful, magical experience that they looked forward to, give them lots of time outdoors in nature, lots of time to socialize, and still be getting the appropriate amount of education for their age level so that they could continue to grow, develop their skills in reading and writing and math and all of the things that I wanted for them for a well-rounded education. And we just had too many things going on outside the home. So this year we've really pared it back, and I still am teaching at the homeschool co-op, the one that we do once a week with other parents. It's enrichment, it's workshops, it's teaching leadership, entrepreneurship skills. And I've also decided to allow the kids to go to a co-school 2 days a week this year instead of just 1, because as they're going into 2nd grade and 5th grade, they really love that socialization time that they get at their co-school when they're there all day with their friends. And it does take quite a bit off my plate because they're getting a lot of the curriculum covered in those 2 days, and then we're just doing work in between for them to continue, reading and writing and narration throughout the week to keep up and be prepared when they go back there. So the other thing that you'll probably see a lot of people talk about when it comes to homeschool is having this morning basket. And honestly, we just couldn't get into it. And I think there's a couple reasons. So a lot of people in their morning basket, they will do, Bible study, they'll do poetry, maybe they'll listen to some music or look at some, picture study artists and things like that. Just kind of a slow way to ease into the lessons instead of jumping right into math. But in our house, what I found was that for one, my kids were already getting chapel at their co-school, and my kids really enjoy when we do Bible studies at night before bed, and they go to church for Sunday school on Sunday mornings. And my daughter Lucy is really, really into reading this action Bible right now. I'll go ahead, any books I share in this video, I'll link them below because this one is awesome. And what I was finding is it was too much to try to get this all in every single morning before we started our curriculum, our math and our language arts and our science. And in addition to running around to all of these co-ops and forest schools and all these other things. And so we pretty quickly abandoned the morning basket because they were getting poetry, they were getting chapel at their co-school, they were getting it in Sunday school, they were getting picture study there. And I didn't feel that they were missing out. Now, if we were a full-time at-home homeschool family and we weren't partnering with co-ops and co-schools, I might change my mindset around that, but it just became something that they were rushing to try to get through before getting to their actual curriculum, and it just didn't work for our family. Now, one thing that I was really nervous about teaching my kids was math. Because while I love math, and math actually comes pretty easy, I have a pretty logical mind, I didn't know how my kids were going to take to math, especially my youngest one who was just going into first grade. And it was really outside of, learning some basic skills in kindergarten. This was her first exposure to really getting those mathematical fundamentals in place. And I didn't know how she would take to me teaching math, to the curriculum. I had heard horror stories about people having to switch curriculums, 4 and 5 times in a single year, just trying to figure out which one would work. But surprisingly enough, we started with Singapore math, and this has been the one that we are definitely sticking with. We loved how Singapore math broke everything down and then built upon the foundation. And so the skills that the children are learning grow upon each other in each and every lesson, and then from one grade to the next. So this worked out really well for our family. One surprise that we had is that the girls really were opposed to doing school year round when we first got started. Like, they really wanted that break for summer. But as we started to get towards the end of the year, because of all the things that we were involved in, we were not complete through our math curriculum. And I knew we couldn't move on to the next one until we got through all the fundamental lessons in the year that they were currently in. So we did end up doing math year round. During the summer, it was maybe 1 or 2 days a week for, 15 to 20 minutes in the morning, right after breakfast, before we went out for the day. And while the kids thought that this was going to be awful, Lucy actually just turned to me the other day and said, "You know what, Mom? I'm pretty glad that we did math year round because it didn't feel that bad having to do it once or twice a week in the summer. And now I really didn't forget anything, and it feels much easier going into this school year than last year when we started." So I think that will be our strategy, especially when there's challenging topics in math that they haven't been exposed to before, and we need to slow down and really take our time to make sure that they get it. It just allows us that freedom to stretch that out throughout the year. So that was a surprise, but this definitely my preferred math curriculum that we will be sticking with for the foreseeable future. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, even though I said we did too many things last year, we are actually still having them go to 2 days this year of co-school. So between the 2 days of co-school and the 1 day of co-op, and then we'll have field trips on Friday, and we'll do a little math in the morning before we go. We'll really only have like 1 full day where we don't have anything going on. But a lot of the things that they're needing to learn right now will be covered at those co-schools. And then they'll just have some homework, things to keep up with in between. So it will take the pressure off of me to make sure that I'm covering all the different subjects. So for instance, The girls, while they're at co-school this year, they'll be doing their geography with these beautiful world atlas. They will be studying, they'll be doing nature studies there and learning about nature that way. They are doing the Burgess animal book, so they'll be studying all types of different animals at school. Lucy even has her first real science textbook for earth science, because that's what they'll be covering this year. We've got the Apologia. This is like a brand new textbook, so I'm really excited to see it. And like I said, I'll link everything below. And then they're also going to get their history. This is Ellie's American history book with a bunch of stories throughout history. So it is 100 tales from American history. So to really bring it to life. So that's allowing them to get a lot of that covered during the day while also having that socialization time with their friends at the same time. So there's lots of breaks at the school. There's lots of collaborative projects that they're working on. And so even though we're doing 2 days of co-school, I think we'll have a slower pace of life because we're not going to be trying to run back and forth to so many different places. And a lot of the curriculum that I wanted to cover is going to be covered during the days at those schools. So what does that mean at home? Well, one thing that we are abandoning this year is we are abandoning a full-on language arts curriculum. So last year we did the Good and the Beautiful language arts for grade 1 and grade 4, and we absolutely loved it. It is a gorgeous curriculum. It incorporates language arts, reading, geography, science, art. It's a very comprehensive language arts curriculum. But with the girls being out of the house 2 days a week, I just felt that it would be too much to try to manage that curriculum. It's really designed for someone who's going to be homeschooling at home full time and doing that for their language arts, probably 4 to 5 days a week if you want to get through it in a year. And so what I love most about homeschooling is that there's no one size fits all for everyone. You can buy curriculums that are already done for you, especially if you're getting started. That was really, really valuable for me last year to know I could just open the book and have everything they needed. Or you can incorporate different books and resources just from your public library. So because we're not going to be doing a language arts curriculum, we are instead going to be reading a lot more of these, what Charlotte Mason calls living books at home. So Secret Garden, Charlotte's Web, A Wrinkle in Time, the Narnia series. So you're probably familiar with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but there's a whole series of the Chronicles of Narnia. And some of these, my older child can read on her own, but we can also do these as read alouds as a family. And that's going to help them to build their reading skills, to build their narration skills when they need to narrate the big main concepts back to me, and really help them to understand and read for comprehension. And then of course we'll do some writing and some copy work at home as well, but not going to go into a full-on curriculum because it would just be so much. And like I said, one of the reasons that we homeschool is because we want to have the freedom and flexibility for them to have time with their friends, for them to have time out in nature, and for them to pursue their hobbies and their interests as well, and not be so tied down to sitting at their desk doing curriculum. So all in all, I feel like our first year in homeschooling was a great experiment for us to learn what really works for our family, what schedule is going to be the perfect blend of school and social time. And this year, I definitely want us to have less pressure to get through all the curriculum, more reading, more time outside, more time with friends. And you know, if we need to extend into the summertime, it really just becomes a part of your life. And instead of school having like a season, it becomes part of something that you do. And you're just always on this quest for education and knowledge and growing your skills. And so I just wanted to record this video to, one, document our homeschooling journey along the way, and two, for somebody who's out there and you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself and you're wondering if you're doing it the right way, or you're considering homeschooling and you're trying to figure out what is the right, correct way to do it, there is no right way for everyone. There's just the right way for your family. And so try different things out, explore what works for you, but just know that homeschooling can be such an amazing, wonderful experience for you and your family, a great way to bond and to grow and to learn together. And I hope that if you're considering it, this video gave you some inspiration, some confidence, and some hope. So I'll see you in the next video.